and welcome to our special election series, Political Roots, a program in which we take politicians literally back to their roots, to the institutes, the places or the cities that we believe have played an instrumental role in laying the roots of a politician's ideology or personality. We also believe that it is in our graduation or post-graduation years usually that we are perhaps most shaped and formed, that the seeds are sown for who or what we will be later. Also, of course, the statistics are very relevant in taking politicians back to educational institutions. This time, 47% of India's electorate is under the age of 35. And there is an estimated 2.5 crores voters who are between the ages of 18 and 19. So those numbers are staggering, and we do believe that it's important for politicians to go back where it all began for them and take questions at their old colleges, their old institutes from new voters. Let's dim the light now to introduce our next guest on Political Roots this evening as we broadcast from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. Whether it's standing in waist-deep water to protest against the displacement of big dams, or going for days without food to agitate against the eviction of slum dwellers, Medha Patkar has been a very prominent face of India's civil liberties movement. But chances are that Medha Tai, as she's called by almost everyone she knows today, would have laughed as a young student if you'd asked her about joining politics. It was here at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, or TIS, that she first formalized her interest in social work with a master's degree. And it was from here in the 1980s that she first visited the Narmada Valley as a young doctoral student to study the impact of proposed dams, a PhD that she would later leave unfinished midway, choosing activism over academics.
Medha and I have been friends for the last 3 decades. We've traveled many trajectories together. We've had differences and we look very similar. Very often people mistake me for her, and I'm sure some people mistake her for me. And in fact, there have been some humorous incidents when people have insisted that I'm her and I've had to prove that I'm not Medha. And because we both have white hair, we don't dye our hair, we wear cotton clothes, and it also expresses a certain philosophy and a political position that you don't dye your hair because you want to be natural. Age is as good as youth. And we make a statement, both of us, separately, and we agree on those statements. There have been differences, and in differences in terms of the way we saw the corruption campaign, there have been differences, but it's never marred or affected the affection and the regard we've had for each other.
As a young woman, Medha dreamt of studying medicine and taking healthcare to the villages. Today, as she embraces a completely different avatar, her friends say her ability to create consensus will help her in politics.
They really look upon her as Thai and sister. This ability to take people along and to insist on inclusive growth is her single important quality, apart from the fact that she stands so solidly against corruption, because she has seen it in her work at every level, and so she has first-hand experience of it. And who better than her to actually start a crusade against corruption?
Before joining Kejriwal's Aam Aadmi Party, Medha Patkar began with supporting the Anna Hazare-led anti-corruption movement. A man who would come under scathing criticism from Medha's fellow traveller from Narmada, Arundhati Roy. Now, navigating ideological differences will be a key challenge of her plunge into politics.
The way she expresses her disagreement and protest is by withdrawing and disappearing. Sometimes you don't know where she is, you can't trace her, and therefore you cannot confront her. And she will not enter into her diatribe or an aggressive battle for her ideas. But she is a very adamant person.
on political roots, taking her back to where it all began, from street activism to election politics. Medha Patkar. All right, so let's have a big round of applause introducing Medha Patkar. We are, of course, broadcasting from TIS, the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, where Medha ji first finished her Masters in Social Work. She also enrolled, as we just saw, as a doctoral student, but did not finish that PhD. Do you ever regret that? Do you regret the fact that PhD nahi ho paye?
Willingly, you should add that word.
Willingly chhod?
Yes, yes.
Why did you leave?
You see, I was really in a dilemma. I'm so much for academics and I'm so much for field activism, both. Rather, वो horoscope देखते हैं ना, तो मुझे किसने बताया था, you would be always, pendulum would move from arts to science, उस प्रकार से हो रहा है.
But did the horoscope wala ever tell you that you'd be in politics?
No, not really. I didn't ask that question probably. And they also guess from your, overall surroundings. But so then, it was that moment when I thought that only doing academics is no good. And even if we are with the people and, in activism, no one prevents you from taking up the academic lines. And academic lines includes political positions.
Yes.
And that requires research, that requires analysis, that requires, study much more sometimes than a PhD research. So from my physical science background to social science background, because I came from BSc to MA in social work, where I had to study the social sciences from the base. I studied economics, politics from Parsons to Marx and so on and so forth, and Spencer, Comte to Andre Gunder Frank and Rajni Kothari on the concept of development and concept of social movements. All of that, just coincidentally or not in a planned way, but finally came to my help when I started being a part of the movement.
But you never thought of returning, PhD to khatam kar लूँ, you never thought of that?
नहीं लगा, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि वो एक डिग्री से क्या होने वाला है,
Not the right thing to say to the students.
No, I hope that some of them also take inspiration from this and come out to help us and join us. I would be more happy than ever. So it's certainly that, that degree pe kuch nahi. Since all the studies were completed, I didn't even take the MPhil as a in-between degree, and I know Dr. M.S. Gore was there and he said, no, you join directly for PhD. I need to earn that time, so I was working part-time and also I was working, but I enjoyed every bit of my academic life and every bit of my activist life.
Now I'm going to take questions from a lot of these young bright people here, which I think is actually tougher than facing any television anchor or journalist. But I want to ask you, had someone asked you 30 years ago that can you imagine yourself in electoral politics? Can you imagine yourself contesting an election? Are you surprised to find yourself today? I was reading that when you campaign, you feel shy of asking people to vote for you. Aapko ajeeb sa lagta hai. Is that true?
That is true, but not everything else. Because for me, all my decisions are, no doubt, comes from the bottom of my heart and emotional this thing. But I always am a part of a group. And I go on consulting them and questioning myself and then taking their questions to criticism, and then I take a decision. Sometimes my colleagues blame me for being indecisive, but that is only at the certain points of time. जो एक मोड़ पर आप खड़े होते हैं जिंदगी के, तब बहुत सोच कर डिसीजन लेना पड़ता है, और वो मैंने जब मैं करती हूँ तब मुझे कोई पछतावा तो नहीं होता है,
नहीं होता उसके बाद
जरूर सवाल मन में आते हैं, but then I jump over.
So you have never actually said to somebody in this campaign, मुझको वोट दो?
ये बहुत मुश्किल है. एक बहुत बुजुर्ग स्वतंत्रता सेनानी ने मुझे कहा था, जब मैं निर्णय लेने वाली उनको मालूम पड़ा कि देखिए बहन जी, इस देश में कुछ लोग तो होने चाहिए जो खुद के लिए वोट नहीं मांगेंगे. तो मैं वोट नहीं मांग रही हूँ, पर मैं लोगों को ये कह रही हूँ कि आप वोट दीजिए, आपके हक लीजिए. बस वही मेरा स्लोगन है, वही हमारा नारा है.
Why did you join the Aam Aadmi Party? Because there were a number of your own colleagues who would have preferred you to contest as an independent. Why did you lend your name to a political party?
See, the first question was whether to support any party, because that also position we had not taken,
yes,
except for some of the very, very small peripheral parties who also made their interventions into electoral politics, but in a very weak and meek way, although ideologically were stronger. Then that question was resolved because out of 20 conveners and committees of National Alliance of People's Movements, which I belong to, there were, except 2.5, all said we should support, and all said the candidature also is accepted. That took 3 months' time, and it required discussion and dialogue with the Aam Aadmi Party leaders, especially like Yogendra Yadav, Ajit Jha and others, Prashant Bhushan, and then Arvind Kejriwal, and without which we could not go ahead. But then when it came to contesting ultimately, it was no doubt some of them did not want me to contest at all, and rest wanted me to contest, but many wanted me to be independent. But they themselves slowly and steadily thought about it. See, going inside as an individual, as Shabana went into Rajya Sabha or Kuldeep Nayyar ji went into Rajya Sabha, would have been a different story altogether.
You
because
feel it's not as impactful? You feel it's not as impactful to be an independent
candidate? And then would have to get into some alliance at a later stage. That would be either issue-based alliance within the parliament, or it would have been some kind of bargaining. I did not want to do that. Also, one major reason was that as alternative politics, alternative electoral politics, when we came from alternative people's politics, we had something to bring to that, and they also needed it. They had appealed to it, and not from the higher ups like relationship, but we genuinely felt that these youths, the Kejriwal and others, were trying their best. And as I told Anna Hazare also, that don't be critical because they're trying their best. And I watched the volunteers who used to stay with me in the basement office of ours, shared by both. So I thought that this is something like a movement, and I always said that if at all we decide to enter, we would enter with a bang, not a very weak way, as an Andolan. So we joined.
Okay, I want to ask a little later, a little more about the disbanding of the original Anna team. But let's start taking questions. We have a question from Ritika Subramaniam. Ritika, where are you? All right. We'll just get you the mic and go ahead with your question. Yes.
So my question to you is that you've very openly criticized Narendra Modi's corporate model in Gujarat. And you've also spent a considerable amount of time of your life in Gujarat fighting for people's rights in the Narmada Valley. So when it came to taking the plunge and actually joining politics, why is it that you didn't, contest from, say, the Aam Aadmi's office in Gujarat? Like, why didn't you contest from Gujarat, and why is it that you decided to come from Mumbai?
Oh, I have worked in Gujarat not only in relation to Narmada Valley. You should know that when I went away after about 9 years work in Mumbai's localities from Mankhurd to Vikhroli, I went back to Gujarat to work with the whole northeast tribal belt. I was working from Dang to Banaskantha, and I wrote an action research report on Dang with the Indian Institute of Management.
So she's asking, why didn't you contest from Gujarat?
No, but I also have spent 17 years here, and I have spent so many years in Narmada Valley, and 29 years, and somewhere overlapping, of course. So there was a possibility of my contesting from anywhere else. But why Gujarat? I did not choose my constituency, nor did I want to, where I would fight a big person or a politician to become bigger myself. I didn't want that. I wanted a moral decision to be taken, which would be choosing a constituency where I have put in my inputs,
but isn't
and
that,
where I would like to work as a representative.
But Medha, it's so interesting what you said. You said, I don't want to become a bigger, I don't want to fight against a big person, in this case you mean Mr. Modi, to make myself bigger. Some would say that's exactly what Arvind Kejriwal is doing by contesting against Mr. Modi in Banaras. And is it a wise decision that he's doing? Isn't he in a sense fighting a losing battle based on the feedback that we are getting from Banaras?
See, that is a political strategy of a party.
You're a senior member of his party. Do you agree with it?
I'm a senior member, but he is the senior most, and he is chalking out the strategy of the whole party, not me till today. So I think that's the right decision from the Aam Aadmi point of view and Aam Aurat point of view.
Many people feel that Mr. Kejriwal has done this to actually keep himself in the headlines. That is the criticism. That he can't win, but it keeps him relevant in the public debate to contest against Mr. Modi.
Not in the headlines, but in the challenging lines, And you yourself, Parkha, would keep him the third alternative to Modi and Gandhi. So I think that is what any party would like to achieve when they are contesting the national Lok Sabha elections. So I think that's the right thing to do. So now how risky is it, and from the risk point of view whether it is there? Modi also feels the risk, that is why he is contesting from 2 constituencies. That's very obvious.
So why doesn't
let them go ahead.
So why doesn't Arvind also contest against, why doesn't Arvind Kejriwal also contest against Narendra Modi in Gujarat? तब तो बात बने.
वो अभी अरविंद केजरीवाल पर ही छोड़े तो अच्छा है. चलो. युवा people would not listen to me that easily.
Okay.
Why do you take
let's take on next question. Akanksha Paranjpay, where are you? Yes, please. We'll just get you the mic. Go ahead with your question. Yeah.
Good evening, Medha Tai. My question to you is that you've said that what India needs today is not mass production but production by the masses. Considering correct. So
Mahatma Gandhi, not Rahul Gandhi.
Mr. So you follow the Gandhian model of development.
She's saying Mahatma Gandhi, not Rahul Gandhi.
So considering we've come so far down the road of liberalization, today do you think that this still holds relevant in the Indian context, and why do you think so?
It's much more relevant than when Mahatma Ji said it, because today the production is not based on the basic need fulfillment as the first and the primary goal in this country. And it is not even, I would like to get that opinion from the youths as well, it's not based on employment generation as the next goal either, because the mechanized and highly mechanized and the tertiary sector that is growing is not only growth without justice, but it is also jobless growth. And this is concluded not by activists but by very active economists, including the government's own economists and the statistics. So I think that is why the production by masses is required. And also the contribution to production anyway is by masses, but then it is shown or it is claimed that handful of people are producing, which is not so. It is the management strategy and the investment strategy that rule out that the production or construction is by masses. So I think unless there are appropriate units, appropriate technology and appropriate kind of process going into industrialization, this production by masses will not be recognized, and then their due rights and due shares in the benefits would not be granted.
Okay.
That is why that philosophy, the economic philosophy, is a must to be the basis and the primacy in our economic decisions.
Now we need to explore whether your party actually has the ideological cohesion to pursue the economics that you believe in, or are there other countervailing influences also? Let's take the next question. Ipshita Sinha. Ipshita Sinha, where are you? Yes, the next question from Ipshita Sinha.
Hello ma'am. So AAP as a party has brought together people that belong to different schools of thought at one point of time. A case in point being Meera Sanyal and yourself in the Enron India case. So once you've joined the party now and once you come in power, how do you plan to realign your ideologies keeping this in mind?
This is a very important question because you protested against Enron. Meera Sanyal worked with the bank that actually financed it. Meera Sanyal is fighting in a constituency which is essentially home to a lot of corporates. She is a corporate herself. You are seen to be what you call neoliberalism, anti-corporate. Where is the center between Medha Patkar's left and Meera Sanyal's right?
See, we are the right and left hand of one single body. It is Aam Aadmi Party.
But where is the balance?
But
where is the balance?
You know, Barkha, when I was in the struggles in Nandigram and Singur, it was Medha Viruddha Mamta. Abhi M ही आता है तो क्या करूँ मैं भी? So it is now Medha Viruddha Meera. So that is Viruddha Modi. But certainly I would like that battle to take place anyway on the floor of the parliament. But that doesn't mean Modi will win, sorry. But it is also a challenge, no doubt. And I take it very seriously.
Do you see Meera Sanyal
on various issues like the national integrity, corruption, and against terrorism? Now leave that to be defined by different people differently. But all of these issues, certainly we are together. We have to be together on the framework of constitutional rights and constitutional directive principles, and that is more than enough.
Do you see Meera Sanyal as somebody who has anything ideologically in common with you? Anything?
I do. I was surprised when she said that she also had not permitted or sanctioned the loan to the Enron project. So the Enron, that was ultimately a USA company which fell on its own burden of corruption again, and the Price Waterhouse exposed that, and Enron got closed. I think we both were fighting from a different fora. So we are against the corrupt corporates and the projects which are destroying more than building.
But is the economics of the Aam Aadmi Party Marxist? Would you call your party a Marxist party, or would you call it a confused party?
I think, no, not confused. See, if Gandhi, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Mahatma Phule, Lohia, Periyar and Karl Marx were together, they would have today formed not a party at least, but a forum, and said that we must change this system and we must teach a lesson to these corrupt politicians and this non-governing system which is looting the country and bringing in irreversible damage not only to ecology but also to the society's main fabric.
Now, Medha ji, there have been a lot of questions, especially since Arvind Kejriwal walked out of the government in Delhi, over whether the Aam Aadmi Party has lost its way. And I want to put this to the audience, that those of you who think that the Aam Aadmi Party has made mistakes by walking out of the government in Delhi, because I know in Delhi we meet a lot of people who feel upset about this. Raise your hand, because we'll take questions from you.
Don't instigate voters from Maharashtra.
I'm not instigating voters. I want questions. I want to share with you what the perceptions are happening. Sorry, let's do that again. Those of you who believe Mr. Kejriwal made a mistake by leaving the government midway in Delhi, please raise your hand. And Medha ji, you're seeing, I just keep your hands up so we can just have a sense of the audience. I would say it's 50-50. I would say 50-50, and I want to hear from one of these people on why. So let's try and get the mic here in the front row to the gentleman in the green shirt. Yes.
I think Kejriwal has shown a slightly immature way to deal with, because people have chosen him and he should have given a time to justify their verdict. So in that way, I find he is a little politically immature to behave with. And if you would have spent more time with his decision, then people will have come to know that what kind of potential he has. So by 2 months you cannot justify yourself that as a leader.
So you feel he was immature?
He is immature.
Someone else who has a question specifically on this? Yes, the girl here in the black kurta. We'll just try and get you the mic. Give us a half a second. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, see, ma'am, people put a lot of faith, when they elect you. And then Mr. Kejriwal, within 49 days, he just decided to resign. We put our faith, we elect you. So they should stand by you. There are problems, that doesn't mean that you just resign and you give up, because that's a question for me, for you as well, from me, that if we elect you, like, what's the guarantee you're going to be there for 5 years? Because again there's going to be a coalition and again there's going to be a problem.
I run away, mind you, and he did not run away like Baba Ramdev did. You see, what is that faith in AK or MP is for? MP is Medha Patkar. And what was that maturity, that was the basis for achieving what? If it was achieving something for the electorate that showed faith in and that expected maturity, then he had to have that not capacity but the environs and the political mandate to take decisions. Which is what they had when the Congress took a decision, and thankfully so, instead of repeating the election, spending hundreds of crores of rupees, to give unconditional support to Kejriwal.
But Mr. Kejriwal was on record saying, I will not take support from the Congress. He did a U-turn on that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There is nothing that cannot, help you change. Even Mahatma Gandhi had changed his certain statements sometime, and that is openness. But he did not change by taking Congress in and making corruption charges out. So it was the rightful decision, as I could see it. But at the last, in the last term, after 49 days, when he could take so many decisions, although he had no chance to pass a new budget and so on within 49 days, which is what criticized about. But all those decisions would have taken further, provided there was the Congress support continued. Now Congress joined BJP to defeat the Jan Lokpal bill, and anyway with 2 independents changing sides and Mr. Binni changing side, they were thrown into minority. So they would have been just sitting there, could not have acted with their own maturity, could not have fulfilled the faith. So it was the right strategic decision I first felt when I was traveling, you know, down the Satpura hills, Barkha. I rushed to the TV when I heard this, that there was a likelihood of resignation. And I sent a message to Yogendra Yadav and others saying, why? Just wait.
That means you shared a lot of the skepticism here about that decision.
Initially. But immediately after that, I realized when I got the answer that even the code of conduct was to start within a few days. They were thrown into minority. They would have been just stuck there instead of reaching out to people. And Lok Sabha elections were ahead. So as a party,
because of the Lok Sabha elections and the ambitions of Aam Aadmi Party to go national, that Arvind Kejriwal wanted to be free for the national campaign and not be Delhi Chief Minister.
But that is the right kind of ambition. Unless you have an ambition to change the nation and which really leads you to ambition of being national. Narmada Bachao Andolan also went ahead to make it Desh Bachao Desh Banao Andolan. So that kind of thing, anyone who is patriotic and who wants and who cannot bear all this corruption and irreversible damage to even democratic paraphernalia, that is what
so he is your prime ministerial candidate.
Nothing has been declared, and rightly so, because the democracy requires not that the Modi or Rahul Gandhi can be declared as the prime minister candidates, but when the members of parliament are elected, and then they elect the ministers, and the ministers elect the prime minister. I think Aam Aadmi Party has done the right thing.
Now you mentioned that Baba Ramdev, you said Arvind didn't run away like Baba Ramdev, but you have, when you were with the Anna Hazare-led anti-corruption movement, which is how this whole party was born, the movement took support from Baba Ramdev.
So
isn't that an ideological compromise for you?
No, it was an issue-based consensus amongst many people. Even Pandit Ravi Shankar did it, but we had not entered into dialogue because
Sri Ravi Shankar, you mean?
Sri Ravi Shankar. It was a dialogue on the issue of corruption and on the Jana Lokpal bill. That is why that movement absolutely grew into and had to grow into. Even within the movement, we had suggested that, I have my written notes for the committee that was formed and we were a part of, that we should go to the macro level vision by including the Gram Sabhas and the Ward Sabhas,
so how would you define Baba Ramdev today? You're now in politics. What is Baba Ramdev for you?
Baba Ramdev is no more a Yogi Raj, but he is with the Modi Raj.
But why didn't that disturb you when you took his support, when a number of his followers came, they bolstered your anti-corruption movement, then you didn't have this problem?
No, but that time he had not made his lines clear, and it doesn't disturb me even now. Everyone is free to take chance. We don't de-recognize his contribution to yoga and his other kind of contributions to the Swadeshi kind of medicines. I use some of those also. But at the same time, on the party political lines, we are now different.
Okay, so let's take the next question from Geetika. Geetika, where are you? Yes, let's get her the mic, please. Yes.
My question to you is, in 2012, Baba Ramdev shared stage with Anna Hazare, and now he's sharing stage with Narendra Modi. Similarly, Anna Hazare, earlier he was supporting you all people, and now he's supporting Mamata Banerjee for the upcoming elections, and he sees Aam Aadmi Party no more different from other parties. What is your take on it, and the change in ideology of the warriors who started as one?
I can give you my take, but I cannot give them advice. So they are individuals which are like institutions.
Is Anna Hazare still a mentor for you?
I mean, he is one of the, ideal contributors to the change in the society. And I don't that way, consider my relationship with anyone for that matter, whether it is Kuldeep Nair or Rajendra Sachar or so many of, my ideal kind of very honest and contributing and visionary individuals, like a mentor, but I mean to say that I certainly have a good relationship with Anna Hazare, and that is because his contribution is still to continue. The phases would come when him kind of person has to remain outside electoral politics and still make an intervention into various political, social and economic decisions. Let us preserve him for that.
Do you agree with his endorsement of Mamata Banerjee? Do you agree with Anna Hazare's endorsement of Mamata Banerjee?
There was nothing that I could disagree on because his 17 questions were very well drafted. And Mamata ji took, from her point of view, it was a right decision, a very strategic decision to really, agree with those. And that I think whether Anna Hazare supports her in the field, in the battlefield or not, she should implement all those issues that were reflected in those 17
But you know,
questions.
the young woman's questions, what happened to the original team? You had a Kiran Bedi who was with you. She's now not in politics, but she's a supporter of Narendra Modi. You had a General VK Singh who at some point joined hands with Anna Hazare. He's now a candidate for the BJP. You have who's joined the Aam Aadmi Party. Anna Hazare has gone completely his own way. Looking back, what mistakes do you believe Team Anna made?
I think if the movement had continued for a few more years, all would have been together. But there was a limit that had reached, according to Arvind Kejriwal and others, and some might have and could have blamed them for that, but not now, when it appears that the people needed an alternative in the electoral politics also.
Do you believe there was some mistake, some responsibility that Arvind also has to take for the fact that Team Anna could not remain together?
Everyone has to take for that matter if it is so. But I think that the role that they all had played and that movement played cannot be denied or ignored even in the history and the future, and they will still play the role. If time comes, they are there. But so much of churning is taking place right now in the Indian polity and economy as well, let me tell you. And challenging Ambani to Adani on one hand, and also challenging the present electoral system, where the movements also should be considered as not the fifth but the first pillar of democracy, apart from yours as the fourth and the others. That is a necessity today. And this party we chose to join because we feel that this party has not only emerged out of movement, Sharad Joshi's party had emerged out of the farmers movement, P.V. Rajgopalan's party had emerged out of the Ekta Parishad, and there were Siddharth Dadda and others who had thought of Sarvodaya movement also to be taken into Swaraj party. But it did not happen that way. That many of the Samajwadi small parties, Raghu Thakur's to Bhai Vaidyas also were there. But they could not make a bang for a number of reasons. That analysis I can present if you want me to. But this party also continued its strategies and its steps on the movement path. Okay, and that is what we like, and that is the difference.
But there are many questions, Medhaji, that arise out of what the ideological center of the Aam Aadmi Party is going to be. Can it transit from being a movement into a party? Can you transit from being protesters always to parties of governance? Let's take the next question. Tejaswini Pathak. Tejaswini, yes, your question.
Ma'am, Mumbai is a city made by hard-working people. So basically Mumbaikars believe in working hard and earning their bread and butter. So they are not going to be wooed like Delhiites by free electricity and free water. So on what basis are you going to, like you said, you will not ask people for votes. But why should the people of Mumbai vote for you?
Are you saying Delhiite?
I
was going to say as a Delhiite, but I take your question.
Barkha herself worked so hard, on research to the presentations and performance.
But there's a real question there. The question that I'm really understanding from Tejaswini is that you all are not catering to aspirational India. The aspirational India today says, मैं 24 घंटा मुझे काम करना है तो ठीक है, मैं मेहनत से कमाऊंगा, but give me something to dream for. You have been accused more than once of romanticizing poverty, of wanting to keep people poor, of having economics that don't apply in today's India. How do you respond to that? Muffat ka bijli pani, isn't it more important to have 24-hour water supply?
Oh my God, if you go through the manifestos of all other parties, they were mesmerizing and hypnotizing, not just cheating. And that is much more. Because Barkha had analyzed the manifestos of Congress to Bhajpa, and also the left fronts, in every election almost, you know. Manmohan Singh और सीताराम येचुरी and इन लोगों को मैंने आमने सामने इंटरव्यू किया है. अभी तुम मुझे पकड़ रही हो. तो ये जरूर है.
अब आप नेता हो गई ना, now रोल बदल गया.
नहीं, नेता नहीं, मेधा. तो ये जो है कि मैनिफेस्टोज में जो देते हैं उसके अलावा ये लोग तो फ्री बीज डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं, विच इज अगेंस्ट द रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल्स एक्ट 1950.
So is free electricity and water.
No, but ये
which was going to people in Delhi like me who can afford to pay for my fund.
You see, but that is change of policy, and based on change of policy, and that every government has a right. Tomorrow, if our government decides to give the due value to the agricultural produce, if we decide to give due value to the labor of 96% of unorganized, unprotected sector of our workers, to give them pension and provident fund and give house to everyone, will that be just a freebie like promise, or will that be promise based on the change of policy which
but the question is that instead of wanting to keep people in slums, because I know you have protested more than once against the eviction of slum dwellers, isn't it more important to get slum dwellers regular housing? Why don't you ever protest to get them housing? Why do you want to keep them? This is the criticism against you. You want to keep people poor.
That is by those who have never entered a slum, who have never seen a slum and never seen our documents and correspondence, our plans and policy drafts. This Rajiv Awas Yojana, which is on the banners everywhere. One fine morning I got down in Bombay and I saw Rajiv Awas Yojana. My God, last 10 years we had been fighting for the right kind of policy that would make this city slum free. And in this M ward where even TISS students worked so hard, they also know there is enough of land. There are construction workers, there are carpenters, there are kadiya persons, there are, coppersmith, everyone is there. And there is no need for outside inputs, provided they are given the right to the land and right to develop themselves. So that is what we want. And we have presented a plan to build 1 crore houses in Mumbai. Unfortunately, we presented to Rajesh Tope and Vilasrao Deshmukh, who happened to be the culprits in Adarsha Society scam which we ourselves dug out.
Okay, I want to ask you, before I take the next question, who is the bigger ideological or political opponent for you and for the Aam Aadmi Party? Is it the Congress or is it the BJP?
Now हम तो उनको जुड़वे भाई मान रहे हैं, नागनाथ और सापनाथ के रूप में देख रहे हैं. See, we have been and we are proud of being a secular force. So secularism for us is a value. That means sarva dharma samabhav. और वो constitutional right भी है सबका और constitutional duty भी है सबकी.
But could you consider? Could you consider working with the Congress or with the third front to keep the BJP out? मैं इसलिए पूछ रही हूँ because in 2004 also your people's movement actually wanted to form a political party, and that time its singular aim was to keep the BJP out. Those were the statements that we want to try and keep the BJP out. The perception is that the Aam Aadmi Party is somewhat soft on the Congress and harsher on the BJP.
नहीं, ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है. Sometimes Aam Aadmi Party is blamed for coming out of RSS, where the someone's roots were, etc. And sometimes they are blamed for having an alliance with Congress. Both criticisms
but someone like yourself, you have worked with the National Advisory Council of Sonia Gandhi. Many of those people, Aruna Roy just spoke about you, have been close associates of yours. आप मुझे बताइए, for you are Congress and BJP equal opponents? Or is BJP the bigger opponent? Because that's what people say. People say Aam Aadmi Party is soft on Congress.
They are, to be challenged by us, not only as opponents but as deviants from the main path which would take us to the constitutional goals and human rights. And that is what both are missing.
Who would you rather see as Prime Minister? If these were the two choices, Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi, अगर केवल यही दो choices होती, who would you rather see and who would you rather not see?
ये तो hypothetical question.
नहीं, ये hypothetical नहीं.
I won't choose either of them.
You will not choose. You do not see because of your ideology against the BJP in the past.
Because Rahul Gandhi has still to work hard to gain his roots into the large majority of this country, the Aam Aadmi and Aam Aurat, Aam Shramik and Aam Producer and farmer and laborer. and Narendra Modi is too far away from the integrated nation state that we all belong to and we are proud of.
But is your
and both Manmohan Singh and Narendra Modi certainly have the same economic policies. So why create a rift between the Sonia Gandhi family and the Manmohan Singh and his coterie? I would prefer them to leave them together.
But is your biggest problem with Rahul Gandhi that he still has to prove himself? Otherwise, you relate to his ideology?
Prove himself, learn about many things, and that I think it could have been possible if the Congress had really taken all the secular forces in, but also take their not advice but at least suggestions in various sectors, in education, in right to food, everywhere. Somewhere the National Advisory Council, because my friend Aruna was there, because John Tracy was there, because Harshmandar was there, some of these people really worked hard and really were sincere, but they all had to come out, mind you. And then the right to food policy they have brought in.
So you're saying
after the years-long campaign of ours for right to food, but corruption is sabotaging everything that they do, and that corruption they are the partners.
I want to put this to the audience. Those of you who believe that the Aam Aadmi Party is equidistant from both parties, raise your hand. Equidistant from both parties. There are very few hands going up, which means there's some perception here that the Aam Aadmi Party is maybe. Those of you who believe the Aam Aadmi Party's main enemy is the BJP, raise your hand. So the perception here, Medha ji, is that the main target is the BJP. If anyone has a question, would
you ask whether that is right?
Yeah, I'm going to take a question.
I would also like to have
anyone has a question on this that you would like to ask? The lady here in the black kurta, here, we'll just get you the mic, and you because you raised your hand, you said you believe the main target is the BJP. Why do you think?
Well, I don't know if Medha probably can answer this better, whether it's also the media, whether they have presented certain comments of yours or certain opinions of yours that tends at times to be, I think, much more critical. I mean, you are critical of both, but whether the frequency of criticism is more. So you probably could answer this in terms of whether is it the media or is it maybe the level of attention given to both parties.
But is it also that Arvind Kejriwal is contesting against Narendra Modi, not Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi?
That is because Narendra Modi has declared himself as the Prime Minister, and I think Rahul Gandhi has withdrawn. But I think going back to the earlier question, which is very, very true.
Even the BJP says Aam Aadmi Party is the B team of the Congress. Kehte hain BJP
on different, fora or different sectors, there is this enemy, more stronger than that. And it's not just an enemy but opponent. And on the communalism side, of course, Narendra Modi, not Narendra Modi as an individual, but BJP as a party need to be challenged, because Atal Bihari Vajpayee line of BJP was different from Narendra Modi, but today's line of BJP is Modi's line and not Gandhiji's.
But you all are not criticizing the Congress with the same intensity as you're criticizing the BJP.
Of course we are. When we are criticizing Mukesh Ambani and filing FIR, who is it against? Now it is different story that Mukesh Ambani supports all parties, so that whosoever wins is his. Okay. But we are questioning the Commonwealth Ghotala. We dug out the Adarsha scam here as NAPM, and Aam Aadmi Party supports our position on that. We dug out Lavasa. The Rashtravadi is Rashtra Virodhi because they are the worst of the corrupt parties. That we have found out, and we are challenging even Yedurappa. So on the corruption line, both are equal. Okay. Even the DMK, which is putting up A. Raja and Kalmadi, would have been in fray, but Ashok Chaman can be in fray. Okay. We are questioning.
So you're saying you don't agree with the perception. I have time just for 2-3 last questions. So let's take them quickly. Eleanor Almeida. Eleanor, yes. The question from Eleanor, yes.
Okay, I had a question about the Somnath Bharti incident with the Ugandan women. I mean, that shows what perception there is of women, and especially of women from other nationalities within the government. So as a woman and as a prospective lawmaker, what measures would you take to ensure that such incidents don't happen, and also the perception, overall perception of women in this country is changed?
whosoever I may be as a prospective, but present.
Were you disturbed by Somnath Bharti's behavior? Were you disturbed?
Actually, I was not a party to that incident.
But you must have
and
read about it.
And yes, I have read about it. I have analyzed, but all the perceptions are different perceptions. Even amongst the feminists, I found different perceptions. Although I think there was a mistake committed there in acting at a bit hurriedly. But I think that was at the behest of the people whom he was representing, and they were, because I stay in Malviya Nagar office, one basement office, NGO office many times, and I know that those people told me that there were complaints which he was pressurized with, and he acted.
But Medhaji, even if the women were sex workers, Medhaji, even if the women were sex workers, which was the allegation, it is not that
it should have been a due process of law.
Sex workers can't be picked up and taken for forcible medical death.
That's what I'm saying. There it was a mistake. The due process of law should have been followed. But now that the inquiry is taking place, and Aam Aadmi Party has not at least rejected, saying no inquiry, as Prithviraj Chavan rejects inquiry into the 40 cooperative societies scam. At least that position our party has not taken.
I think the question really
so let the report be
I think the question really is, are you uncomfortable with some of the individuals in your party? Because it's a party that's been made in a big hurry. Because there's very little time, because the elections are here. For example, do you and Kumar Vishwas, who is taking on Rahul Gandhi, do you have anything in common ideologically?
There is much common, I suppose.
Other than the fact that you're from the same party. Be honest, be truthful.
No. Even in the political movement, which is a political movement, anti-corruption movement, sometimes there were some statements by Kumar Vishwas which we had to check and balance. Yeah. And that is necessary. Sometimes even in our own people's organization, our own farmers would take some position on the casteist lines, because after all, the caste exists in the society, and we have to check and say that no, we will not hold the meeting inside the mandir, we will have it outside, or we will have everyone inside the mandir.
Arundhati Roy was a compatriot of yours in the Narmada Bachao movement. Is a compatriot of yours. But when you were with the Anna movement, she was scathingly critical of the Anna movement. She called the Anna movement communal. She saw it as right-wing. She also said that both the Jan Lokpal movement and Maoists want to overthrow the Indian state. Later, she has also compared Naxals to Gandhians. Where do you come in on Arundhati Roy?
First, let me underline, she is a very good friend and supporter of Narmada Bachao Andolan. Secondly, she is a writer, and of what stature you and me know very well. And she has her own vision, and she reflects upon everything happening outside with such sensitivity, which is very, very rare.
So when she criticized you for joining the Anna movement?
Doesn't matter, still that friendship continues. Even Aruna had a different position, and we were on your panels all the time, but we were never opponents, and there can be different positions. That is the truth of life.
But Prashant got into so much controversy.
I think Arundhati also, Prashant is also a good friend of Arundhati.
I'm asking you because the Aam Aadmi Party's positions on issues of national security, whether on Naxalism or Kashmir, are seen to be problematic by many people. You have given a ticket this time to Soni Sori in Bastar. Arundhati Roy, whom you call a good friend, has at different occasions compared Naxals to being Gandhians with guns. Do you agree with this description?
You see, there is a difference of opinion on that. We are not for armed struggle, but we don't condemn Naxals as just equal to or equivalent to international terrorists. They are people with goals, but their means are not acceptable to us at all. And Soni Sori is not one who had participated in armed struggle. That is the difference. So Soni Sori should have been given a ticket for this election, and I think the party has done a great job in that. But Prashant Bhushan's statements on Kashmir, let me tell you, was not only his personal, but they were very mature statements, and those were and will have to be discussed.
But you are saying they are mature statements. Arvind Kejriwal disassociated the party from those statements.
No, I think the party is yet to discuss all that matters.
He said we do not support a referendum in Jammu and Kashmir. We do not support a referendum to decide army deployment. He publicly said he disassociated himself from those statements. You think they are mature statements?
No, mature in the sense that Prashant Bhushan did not support deployment of armed forces from all areas. I think think somewhere it got mixed up in the confusing word. But whatever opinion about the referendum Arvind Kejriwal has, we had some opinion earlier, and we have a bit different opinion, because I heard the organizations in Jammu and Kashmir, and I found that the situation is quite changed. And now there may not be any need for referendum. This is my personal position. But the National Alliance of People's Movements and the Aam Aadmi Party, all these political entities as they are, they will have to discuss these kinds of sensitive issues, and they will also have to go back to people.
But you don't think Prashant's statements on Jammu and Kashmir, whether on AFSPA or a referendum, were problematic for a party that's seeking to go national? They angered a lot of people, and Arvind Kejriwal distanced the party from those statements. You seem to be saying those statements should be discussed.
They should be discussed. I think Arvind also would say that he said that it is his opinion.
Yes.
And he said about, he gave
Do you agree with Prashant's opinion?
I agree to a great extent, and I will further like to get clarification from Prashant and discuss in the party.
Which part of his statement do you agree with? Do you agree that there should be a referendum to decide army deployments in Kashmir?
No, I think there is no situation today that would demand a referendum.
So which part of his statement do you agree with?
That in some places, some parts of Jammu and Kashmir, the deployment of army would be necessary and possible. As far as Armed Forces Special Powers Act, when Sharmila Irom is fighting the battle for 12 years, it's high time that we review that act, and that is the position many of the justices appointed on the committee to review AFSPA, like the Justice Chinnappa Reddy, have already taken. So why not get into a review process, which would be a
So you want a larger debate within your party on Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, I have to end, sir. The last question goes to you. To the director. Yes, sir. Please.
Medha ji, thanks for coming here. You have been working to secure the rights of marginalized and dispossessed all your working life. Some of my students have been working in the same ward. The Agarwadi people were displaced 5 times in last 20 years. In the last round of displacement, my students were helping people to safeguard their women and children, and they were detained. We were in detention for about 12 hours. There was no political executive or political leader I haven't spoken to.
Yes.
At the end of all this struggle, now what we are left with? Agarwadi people are back in street. 10 of my students have an FIR standing against them. Now, how do you think we will ever secure social justice in this country?
Yes.
If we are checkmated at every point when we want to work with people to secure their rights?
I've just got to give you 15 seconds to answer, because I'm totally out of time. Jaldi.
We will have to be in movements and also enter into electoral politics and intervene into those to change the policies and remind the politicians and the society both that the justice comes from the constitutional rights, but human rights are above constitutional.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Medha Patkar, our Political Roots, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.